The day my wife came back from a business trip, I left work early and went home to prepare a surprise for her in the bedroom. My wife was lying face down on the bed, and her bare back was covered with lotion. Hearing the sound of me opening the door, she didn't look at me. Instead, she just crooked her finger, showing a coy gesture. "Come and give me a massage. You know, this business trip really exhausted me." I thought this was a special bit of intimacy my wife had prepared for me. With a smile on my face, I walked behind my wife and placed my hands on her back, kneading it. But my wife's next words were like a bolt from the blue, freezing me in place. "Make it quick this time. James will be off work soon." James is my name. She wasn't waiting for me. Then who on earth was she waiting for? Ava was enjoying my massage. She was lying face down, and I couldn't see her expression. I could only tell from her soft gasps that Ava was in a good mood right now. She didn't realize that the person behind her was me. Naturally, she couldn't see the stiffness on my face either. From Ava's words, I was already certain of who she was waiting for, but there was still a glimmer of hope in my heart. While deep in thought, my hands' movements paused slightly. Ava let out a soft laugh as if she thought my momentary pause was just part of the intimacy game Henry was playing with her. "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and finish the massage so we can move on to the next step." She didn't elaborate, but I knew exactly what the next step she was referring to was. On the bedside table, there were the toys they were going to use. At this moment, Ava was completely different from the person I usually knew. What she had just said was almost an invitation. We had been married for many years, and she always claimed to be conservative and unwilling to do those things. Whenever I brought it up, Ava would look at me with disgust and ask if that was all I could think about. But now she was actually willing to offer herself to Henry on her own initiative, completely losing her former conservative and self-restrained demeanor. Seeing that I didn't respond, Ava became even more impatient. She reached behind and unfastened her bra, revealing her snow-white skin. "Why did you stop? Are you really afraid that he'll come back unexpectedly? Don't you think this is even more exciting?" The massage therapist's that snow-white skin was like a quenched blade slicing through my flesh and blood, obliterating my ridiculous dignity. "There are still 2 hours until James gets off work. We can take our time and play until you're satisfied." I stared blankly at the eager Ava. I had never seen her so excited, so eager. I couldn't imagine how many times they had been unfaithful behind my back, in places I didn't know about and at times I was unaware of. I wanted to escape from this room and preserve my precarious self-esteem, but I stumbled and almost fell. Just then, the bedroom door opened again. Almost instantly, Ava tensed up. I turned around and started to put on her clothes. She thought the person opening the bedroom door was me. When Ava saw me, her hand holding the clothes slowly dropped. She furrowed her brow, and the panic in her eyes flashed by, but she quickly calmed down. Henry was wearing the clothes of a massage therapist. Seeing the scene in the bedroom, he furrowed his brow and put on a wronged expression. I had seen this look countless times, and every time, Ava would be swayed by him. "James, why are you pretending to be me to deceive Sister Ava?" I didn't even want to look at Henry. I stared intently at Ava and questioned her. "You're having an affair right here at home. Ava, what do you take me for?" Ava put on her clothes and furrowed her brow at my question. She seemed to be greatly wronged. "Having an affair? Don't you dare slander me. Henry is working part-time as a massage therapist now." I was so tired from the business trip. Can't I even get a massage? Only she could come up with such a despicable excuse. I stood in front of the bed with my arms crossed, listening to her words and letting out a derisive laugh. "A massage therapist? I'm afraid it's just a cover for your affair." I didn't hide the sarcasm in my tone. Ava, who always saw herself as a successful person in front of me, couldn't stand my mockery. She looked at me coldly, with anger written all over her face. "Say that again. I've been working so hard on a business trip, and now I come back only to be suspected by you. You're a poor wretch with no money or power, relying on me to support you. What are you pretending to be in front of me?" As she said these words, there was an unmistakable arrogance on her face. But what Ava didn't know was that she was able to establish her company and achieve its current scale, all because I secretly helped her fill the financial gaps and brought in resources. Without me, her company would have gone bankrupt long ago. But now, this had actually become a reason for her to look down on me and an excuse to attack me. I couldn't hold back the anger surging inside me. I pointed at Ava and shouted angrily, "The evidence is overwhelming. What are you still arguing for? Have you forgotten what you just said? Do you dare to say that you didn't do anything when you took Henry on the business trip with you?" Upon hearing this, Henry immediately played the role of a tea lover in front of Ava, subtly and overtly mocking me. "He's trying to ruin your reputation." He had a look of indignation on his face, speaking up for Ava. "You're just jealous that Ava's business is booming now, and you're afraid she'll leave you, so you're trying to ruin her." Hearing Henry's false accusation, I almost wanted to applaud his sophistical logic. As I expected, Ava, as always, believed Henry's words without a doubt. Henry was her first love, and he had always been the unchanging first love in her heart. I was just her husband. How could I compare to Henry? I sneered inwardly over the years of our marriage. They had gradually been worn away, and now they were almost completely gone. Ava had a cold expression on her face, as if she had caught me in the act. She said disdainfully, "I should have thought of it earlier. Are you trying to get a share of my property? You're deliberately framing me. You want me to leave the house penniless." I couldn't believe it, and I couldn't accept it either. As my wife, who had been through thick and thin with me for so many years, she actually thought I would covet her property. Fine then, let's go get a divorce right now, so I can make room for Henry. He wants this result, doesn't he? Then I'll step aside and let you two be together. Ava was so angry that her whole body was shaking. She stepped forward and slapped me across the face. "Henry has been kind to my Ava family. You don't deserve to talk about him." She was about to say something more, but Henry stopped her and said, "Ava, today is my birthday. For my sake, just let him go this time." Ava gave me a hateful look and left with Henry. When she left, she slammed the door so hard that I felt the whole house shaking. My vision was also shaking. The burning pain on my face made my mind clearer, and memories came flooding back to me. I met Ava in college. I fell in love with her at first sight. After graduation, we got together naturally. I came from a well-off family, and my parents had high expectations of me. Ava's father was a gambler, and her mother had been suffering from illness for years. My parents didn't support my marriage to her and even threatened to cut off relations with me if I insisted on marrying her, but I was still determined. After getting married, I supported Ava's idea of starting a business and took the initiative to use my savings to help her establish a company. I had always had the habit of investing and had made a lot of money over the years, but most of it was invested in Ava's company to help her fill the financial gaps. I even swallowed my pride and took the initiative to help her build connections and find resources. Ava has a strong sense of pride, so I've never told her what I've done and have always been helping her secretly. But now, in Ava's eyes, I'm actually trying to embezzle her company. I smoked a cigarette and paced back and forth in the room. Everywhere I looked, it was like stabbing a sharp knife into my heart. The extra toothbrush in the bathroom, the brand new slippers at the door, and the newly prepared nighttime supplies in the drawer. I was almost masochistically looking for evidence. This didn't make me feel any better. It just made it even harder for me to hold back my sadness. It wasn't until exhaustion swept over my entire body that I fell asleep on the sofa. I thought that bed was dirty. I don't know how long I slept, but I was woken up by the ringtone of my phone. On the other end of the phone was Ava. "I'm drunk. Come and pick me up." Still, in a commanding tone, she seemed certain that I would go because I've always gone to pick her up every time. Getting me to pick her up when she's drunk seems to have become a habit for her. This time, I didn't refuse. Listening to the triumphant laughter coming from the other side, my eyes gradually became frosty. This time, I was going to make things clear to her once and for all, and also wake myself up completely. The address she sent me was a bar. As soon as I walked in, I saw Ava at a glance. She was kissing Henry beside her and sharing the wine between them. I watched their actions indifferently, but my right hand quietly clenched into a fist. Ava has always been a clean freak. When we got married, I picked up some food for her, but she didn't take a single bite. At the end of the wedding, those dishes were still left there all alone, as if they were a silent mockery of me. But at that time, my heart and eyes were full of love for her, and I didn't care about these things. Now, Ava, who always claimed to be a clean freak, was actually willing to drink the wine from someone else's mouth, and seemed to enjoy it. Henry saw me and triumphantly raised his eyebrows at me, then put his arm around Ava's waist. He had calculated the time and wanted to declare his sovereignty in front of me. If it were in the past, he would definitely have seen my furious expression, and I might even have fought with him. Today is Henry's birthday, and there are quite a few mutual friends of Ava and me sitting around him. It's hard for me not to think that Henry did it on purpose. He deliberately provoked me just to see Ava defend him. But unfortunately, he couldn't see anything today. When I reached the table, Henry answered a phone call and left. When Ava saw me arrive, she wiped the still damp watermarks on her rosy lips and said irritably, "Why did you take so long? I've been waiting for you for a long time." After saying that, she grabbed me and was about to make me drive her home. Ava pulled me, but she couldn't move me. I stood there, looking bad-tempered. She frowned and looked at me, thinking I was being unreasonable. "What are you throwing a tantrum about this time?" It was just a game of truth or dare, and that was my punishment. I gave Ava a deep look, my eyes cold and dark. Indeed, in her heart, kissing another man didn't count as cheating at all. If I were to hold on to this matter, I would be the one being unreasonable. Thinking of this, I didn't want to pretend that everything was okay anymore and said straightforwardly, "Ava, I've had enough. Let's get a divorce." As soon as I said this, her face instantly changed, and even our mutual friend beside us tried to persuade me. "James, it was really just a game. Don't take it to heart." Looking in the direction of the voice, it was a married male friend. I sneered and retorted sarcastically, "Since you're so generous, I'm sure you wouldn't mind seeing your wife kiss another man, right?" He looked embarrassed and didn't say anything. Ava glared at me angrily, and her explanation sounded so pale and feeble. "I'll explain it to you one last time. Henry and I really have a pure F friendship. I'm so busy with my career. How could I have the time to think about other things?" I just found her explanation extremely ridiculous. "I don't want to share my wife with another man. I find it disgusting." I glanced at the friend who spoke up for Ava, but it seems that someone doesn't find it disgusting. "You can try him." Ava looked furious. As soon as she raised her hand, Henry, who suddenly rushed back, stopped her. "Ava, he's just trying to make you angry on purpose so that you'll leave some evidence of misbehavior." Ava looked at me suspiciously, as if she had figured something out, and suddenly laughed. "I knew it. You're jealous and deliberately trying to make me angry to get my attention. I'm telling you, I won't divorce you. Don't even think about it." I looked at Ava, who was immersed in her own world, speechlessly shook my head, and turned to leave. I didn't go home. Instead, I went back to my parents' house first. Over the years, my relationship with my parents has improved a lot. This time, I went home, of course, to tell them the good news that I was going to get a divorce. For several days in a row, Ava didn't reply to my messages and avoided seeing me. She thought I was just trying to get her attention, but she didn't know that I was already extremely anxious to get a divorce. "I'm really busy with work recently. Let's talk after I'm done with my work. I'm not like you, a jobless person who has nothing to do all day long." That was her excuse for not seeing me. It's really ridiculous. I'm the one who has taken on a lot of the company's business and don't even know where she got so much work from. In desperation, I could only go to the company to find her. When I first arrived at the company, her assistant saw me and looked flustered. She was in a hurry to go and inform Ava. I stopped her directly. Looking at her flustered appearance, I knew I had come at the right time. Ava was indeed here. I went all the way unhindered. When I came to the door of her office, I heard the gasps and the man's low growls coming from inside the office. So this is what Ava meant by being busy with work. I couldn't hold back the anger in my heart at all, and the assistant beside me lowered her head and didn't dare to look at my expression. When I was about to push the door open, Ava's mother appeared behind me. She looked pale. The serious illness that had accumulated over the years made her suffer a great deal. When she saw me, there was a bit more color on Ava's mother's face. She was holding a thermal box in her hand and smiling at me. "James, you've come to see Ava too." Before I could stop her, she opened the door of the office. First, when she saw clearly what was going on inside the office, Ava's mother clutched her chest and staggered to the ground with no trace of blood on her face. Ava, whose clothes were loosely draped over her body, rushed out, and Henry, who was only wearing his underwear, followed closely behind. Mom, what's wrong with you?" Ava was almost crying with anxiety, holding her mother, and shouting loudly. Henry, who came out behind her, squinted at me, full of shock. "You brought Auntie here, didn't you? Ava has just been busy with work these days and didn't have time to see you. Are you trying to force her with this kind of method?" Ava looked at me with bloodshot eyes, full of hatred. If she wasn't holding her mother, I didn't doubt that she would rush up and attack me. "James, you have such a cruel heart. You actually targeted my mother just to get back at me. If anything happens to my mother, I will never let you go." It was clearly the two of them having an affair in the office. Ava's mother fainted because she was so angry when she found out, but with just a few words, it had actually become my fault. However, I didn't have the mood to argue with them now. In a hurry, we took Ava's mother to the hospital. The patient's condition is very critical now. There are signs of massive bleeding, but the patient has panda blood. "Do you know anyone who can donate blood?" I was about to step forward first. After all, I have panda blood and have donated blood to save people before. Unexpectedly, Ava pulled Henry and raised her hand, saying, "Great. Henry also has panda blood. He saved my mother once before." "Sure enough, you're the benefactor of our Ava family." Ava had been very flustered before, but when she heard about the blood donation, her emotions gradually calmed down. She looked at Henry with expectant eyes. I was a bit surprised. Panda blood is already very rare, and I didn't expect Henry to have it too. Ava pulled Henry and was about to go for the blood donation when she saw me standing there. She let out a cold snort. "You're useless. If it weren't for your petty and vindictive nature trying to get back at me, how could my mother have ended up like this?" I watched the two of them enter the blood donation room, and to my surprise, I felt a sense of relief in my heart. It didn't matter to me who was donating the blood. The most important thing now was to save Ava's mother's life. But within a few minutes, I heard screams coming from the blood donation room. Ava had a ferocious expression on her face, and her eyes were fixed on Henry, who looked a bit flustered in front of her. "How could this be? How could this be? Didn't you say you saved my mother by donating blood? You're not panda blood at all. Why did you lie to me?" Henry took a few steps back, looking at the hysterical Ava in front of him. Cold sweat broke out on his face. Ava, don't get excited. Calm down first. Ava had tears in her eyes and wanted to grab Henry's collar and question him, but she staggered and fell to the ground after walking a few steps. I quickly walked into the blood donation room and frowned at the chaos inside. The doctor in the blood donation room saw me, and her eyes lit up. Great, you're here. Coincidentally, the patient this time is the one you saved by donating blood last time. If you hadn't left so quickly, she could have seen you again. Olivia hurriedly pulled me over to draw blood, and Ava, she stared blankly at me as I was about to donate blood. The tear stains on her face from the tears that had fallen were still there. You were the one who donated blood to save my mother. Last time, Ava asked this question indicated that she already had the answer in her heart. It seemed that she couldn't accept the reality. She was on the verge of collapse. She stood up, leaning against the wall, and kept muttering to herself, "It was you. So it was you who saved my mother." When Ava saw that I remained silent and didn't answer, she screamed and questioned me. "Why didn't you ever tell me? Why did you hide it from me? Are you happy to see me kept in the dark?" Ava had always told me that Henry had been kind to her family. It was only today that I realized that Henry had taken credit for what I had done. Facing Ava's questions, I pursed my lips and just let out a sigh. I just found out too that the person I saved by donating blood last time was your mother. I don't intend to ask for repayment in return for my kindness. I just hope that we can get a divorce like this and give each other the last bit of dignity. With my blood, Ava's mother's condition stabilized, and she passed the critical period. Ava sat beside her mother's hospital bed. Only after seeing her mother fall asleep did she feel at ease. As for Henry, after his lie was exposed, he had already left the hospital, and no one knew where he was now. I stood outside the ward, waiting to have a final showdown with Ava. The reason I didn't go into the ward was that I didn't want to stimulate Ava's mother, who had just had an operation. Ava looked a bit tired when she saw that I had been standing outside the ward and hadn't left. There was a hint of excitement on her face. "You've been waiting for me." As she spoke, she tried to take my hand. I knew it. "You still love me, and you can't bear to leave me. Mom is asleep. You must be tired from donating blood today. Let me drive you back to rest." I didn't know why Ava still felt so good about herself and even thought that. I was standing outside the ward waiting for her. I took a step back and dodged Ava's hand. "I'm waiting for you here just to tell you the time for our divorce. Next Wednesday, let's meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau." With every word I said, Ava's face became more and more embarrassed. There was anger in her eyes. I thought this conversation would end in a quarrel again. Unexpectedly, she suppressed her anger and still tried to persuade me gently. "James, you've seen it. I was really deceived by Henry, which is why I did those things. I know the truth now. I know that you're the one who has been kind to my family. I promise I won't make the same mistake again. Please forgive me this time and don't divorce me, okay?" This was the first time I had seen her in such a humble attitude, and the first time I had seen her take the initiative to persuade me to stay. Ava had always been proud in front of me, but I knew very well that she had a noble sense of inferiority. Deep down, she knew that my family, my background was better than hers, so she subconsciously tried to suppress me to satisfy her sense of control over me. I was willing to endure all this because I still loved her before, but everything Ava had done had completely worn away the affection between us, and I wouldn't make any more concessions for her. Facing Ava's concession, I just let out a derisive laugh full of sarcasm. I turned on my phone and played a video that was sent to me by my confidant in the company, a video of the two of them having an affair in the office just now. "Forgive you. If you really think you've done something wrong, then it can be called forgiveness. Ava, you've had an affair with Henry so many times. Do you really think you've done something wrong?" I turned around and wanted to leave, but Ava grabbed my wrist. She couldn't maintain that pleading posture anymore when she saw the video on my phone. Anger welled up in her eyes. "I've already done this much. What else do you want from me? It's clearly Henry's fault. Why do you keep blaming me? Aren't I your wife? Do you want me to give you half of the ... before you're satisfied?" As soon as she said this, Ava paused for a moment. She knew she had said the wrong thing. I looked at her coldly, my eyes full of mockery. I understood the more important reason why Ava didn't want to divorce me was that she couldn't bear to part with her company and the wealth. What she didn't know was that without me, her company should have gone bankrupt long ago. "No, James, I didn't mean that." Ava was embarrassed and tried to make up for what she had said, but I had no intention of listening to her continue. I didn't look back, but I could feel that she was staring at my departing back. When I reached the corner, she shouted at me, "I know you're angry with me, but everyone deserves a chance to turn over a new leaf, right? Why do you have to hold on to those things?" Ava had never been so embarrassed by me before, and she couldn't suppress her anger at all. I didn't want to pay attention to her sophistry at all. I just waved my hand and reminded her of the time for the divorce next Wednesday. When I walked past the corner, I saw a familiar figure leaning against the wall. It was the Dr. Olivia, who had drawn my blood just now. She smiled and held out her hand to me. This is the third time we've met since I came back, James. I shook her hand and then asked in return. The third time? As far as I knew, we should have only met twice in the coffee shop. Olivia, who was sitting opposite me, stirred her coffee. I was also waiting for you in this coffee shop at that time, but you didn't come. Olivia let out a soft laugh and told me about the first time we met after growing up. It turned out that she was the blind date my mother had introduced to me. But at that time, my mother didn't know that I was already with Ava. After I told my mother about this, I canceled the blind date and thus missed the opportunity to meet Olivia. I smiled awkwardly and looked at Olivia's half-smiling expression. I'm really sorry I made you make a wasted trip. At that time, I also gradually came to know that she was the outstanding child from someone else's family that my mother had talked about. Olivia's family and my family were old friends, but her family settled abroad. Olivia came back to China because of work. We were sort of childhood friends, but because she went abroad with her parents, our contact gradually decreased. At the end of the conversation, Olivia asked me, "The person just now is your wife, and you're getting a divorce?" I didn't feel embarrassed about this question. Olivia was also there just now, and had witnessed the awkward situation between us. Yes, if there are no accidents, I can get the divorce certificate next Wednesday. Olivia nodded thoughtfully and took out a piece of information from her bag and handed it to me. This information should be useful to you, she said. After saying that, she winked at me playfully. When you're divorced, I'll go to your home to pay a visit to your parents. We haven't seen each other for a long time. It was obvious that there was more to her words than met the eye, and I could tell. I took the information from her hand. But before I could look through it carefully, I heard someone shouting my name at the entrance of the coffee shop. Ava ran up to me, stared at Olivia sitting opposite me, and then looked at me saying pitifully, "You just separated from me, and then you came here to have coffee with a woman." There were tears in her eyes, and they fell from the corners of her eyes. Ava looked at me like this, as if I were a heartless man. I knew it. If there wasn't someone else outside, you wouldn't choose to divorce me so easily. What's so good about her? All these years, if it weren't for me supporting you, how could you have lived so comfortably? Ava was shouting, and tears mixed with anger fell to the ground. I said at the hospital, "Why was she always looking at you? It turns out that you really have an affair." I was just about to explain that Olivia and I were childhood sweethearts, so we knew each other. Suddenly, she grabbed the coffee on the table and threw it at Olivia, but I blocked it. The scalding coffee burned my right hand, and I let out a cry of pain. Seeing this, Olivia quickly wanted to take me to rinse it with cold water. Ava was a bit panicked. She didn't mean to hurt me. "James, I didn't do it on purpose. Really, I didn't mean to hurt you." She grabbed me and wouldn't let me leave. "We're even. I can forgive you as long as we don't get a divorce." Ava had a stubborn look on her face and kept saying that we were even. I stopped in my tracks and looked back at her. She was hurt by the coldness in my eyes and subconsciously let go of my hand. Even, of course, I knew what she meant. She was saying that we had both cheated, so we were even. "Ava, stop playing dumb here. You clearly know that I haven't cheated." Ava pursed her lips, and the panicked look on her face gradually faded away, replaced by a ferocious expression. "Oh yes, I'm playing dumb, but I just want to win you back. Is there something wrong with that?" She shouted at me on her own, as if I was the one who had done something wrong. We've been together for so many years. How could I not see what she was really thinking? All Ava wanted to do was to smear me, make me a bad person like her, and destroy me so that she could better control me. She was used to having me by her side and didn't want to lose a lapdog like me. Before I could continue, she answered a phone call. After answering the phone, she glanced at my scalded hand and gritted her teeth, saying, "James, a big investor has come to the company. I have to go back and receive them. After I'm done, we'll have a good talk." I watched her hurry away, and my phone in my pocket kept vibrating. It was a message from my confidant in the company. Standing in the bathroom, I rinsed the scalded part of my right hand with cold water while looking at the newly received message. There was no such thing as a big investor at all. Ava rushed back just to transfer the company's assets in case I really chose to get a divorce. In the photo that came, Henry was standing beside her. This was a plot they had hatched together. A sneer curled up at the corner of my mouth. I really didn't expect that after learning that Henry had lied to her. Ava still chose to conspire with him. It's really bold to cooperate with the person sent by her own father. That's right. Henry was actually instructed by Ava's gambling-acted father to bite a big chunk of flesh from Ava to pay off his gambling debts. Both of them had their own motives, but all of this had nothing to do with me. In the end, their schemes would only lead to self-inflicted suffering. When I got home, I opened the information that Olivia had given me. It was an ultrasound examination of a pregnancy. Ava had been pregnant for a while. Calculating the time, it was exactly when she was on a business trip with Henry. I put away the examination form, lay on the sofa, and stared blankly at the ceiling. Even though I wanted to say that I had no feelings for Ava anymore, the dull pain in my chest couldn't be faked. Ava tried to come to my parents' house to find me several times, but I blocked her outside the door. I knew that no matter how pitiful she looked or how sincere she seemed, there was no future for us. The wound in my heart that had been torn apart had rotted, bringing me long-lasting pain that wouldn't go away. Time quickly passed, to the day we had agreed on for the divorce. I was waiting for Ava at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, but I didn't just wait for Ava. Henry came with her, and there were also news media with cameras behind them. As soon as those news media saw me, they were like hyenas that had smelled blood. James, is it true that you abandoned your wife and child for a new lover? Would you please give a positive answer? Is the so-called new lover real? I didn't answer. I just stared coldly at Ava. Ava walked up to me. My fierce gaze was crying as I grabbed my husband's hand. I know you're from a wealthy family and look down on someone like me from a poor background, but you can't be so heartless. You want to take my company and also force me and our child to death. She was crying and sobbing, and there was no sign of the look she had when she wanted to win me back. Before, I was indifferent to their actions. All they wanted was to turn the tables on me. Now, that so-called company was already an empty shell, but it still couldn't satisfy the appetites of the two of them. So, they set their sights on my property and wanted to use the excuse of my infidelity during the marriage to force me to leave the house penniless. When Henry saw that I was unmoved, he pointed at me and shouted angrily, "I knew it. You had your eye on AA's company from the start. You rich second-generation people have no humanity at all. You only care about interests. Ava is the one who suffered when you broke up with your family. She worked hard alone to support you. You're a kept man, and you still think about cheating. It's really disgusting." As soon as Henry said this, those cameras almost poked at me. Facing the aggressiveness of the two of them, I just shrugged my shoulders, took out the B ultrasound form from my bag, and the video of the two of them having an affair in the hotel during the business trip. In the video, Ava was lying on Henry's chest, rising and falling with Henry's movements. I turned up the volume to the maximum, and everyone present could hear it. "Henry, I want to have a child for you." Henry let out a soft laugh and asked, "What if James finds out? What will you say then?" Ava seemed very confident. "I'm already being generous by being willing to have a child for him. He has no right to choose whose child it is." I didn't want to have a complete falling out with them, but they were being aggressive. Why should I be responsible for a child that isn't mine? This is Ava's pregnancy test form. It clearly states that when she was pregnant, I wasn't by her side at all. I stared closely at Henry with a half-smile expression. The father of the child is someone else. Seeing the evidence in my hand, Ava went crazy and wanted to snatch it. I took a step back and continued. "As for her company, I'm actually the biggest shareholder behind the scenes. I originally had a share in that company, so there's no such thing as seizing it." Ava stared at me blankly as if she couldn't understand my words. You're the biggest shareholder. Impossible. I've seen that person. You're lying." I looked at Ava with a mocking and disgusted expression. "I never wanted you to know because I was afraid of hurting your pride, so I always let the people under me attend the meetings." I opened the evidence sent to me by my confidant about the two of them transferring the company's assets. "Do you really think I don't know about your little tricks behind my back?" Ava looked embarrassed and looked at Henry for help. Henry turned his head. "So what? That money originally belonged to me. Can't I take it?" I had an almost pitying expression. I just thought Ava was ridiculously stupid when she didn't know that property had already been taken by Henry to pay off his gambling debts. "Do you think that property is still in your hands?" "Henry has already used it to pay off his gambling debts." "Oh, and he was so kind as to help your father pay off part of his debts too." Ava couldn't believe my words and wanted to ask Henry for confirmation, but she saw Henry gradually back away, trying to run away. As soon as he backed away, Ava was sure that he definitely had a guilty conscience. Ava pounced on Henry, and the two of them started fighting. The news media lost interest in me and surrounded the two people who were fighting, constantly taking pictures. "You lied to me. Why did you lie to me? I trusted you so much." Ava's sharp fingernails scratched several marks on Henry's face, and Henry let out painful howls. I had no choice. Those debt collectors said they would cut off my hand if I couldn't pay them back. "Would you be willing to let me lose a hand?" Ava was furious, and there was no sign of the previous favoritism she had shown Henry. "I don't care if you die. How dare you touch my money?" I stood aside, feeling only ridicule. She had clearly been deceived by Henry once, yet she still believed so much in this so-called first love in her heart. I also completely understood. In fact, Ava didn't love anyone, she only loved money. When she was with me back then, she mostly took a fancy to my status as a rich second generation. Even if I broke off relations with my family, she wouldn't leave until she had squeezed all the benefits out of me. I could only tell from her slight gasps that Ava should be in a good mood now. However, I won't let him get away so easily. Moreover, his debt collectors won't let him go either. Ava and I got a divorce, as a matter of course. Her infidelity during the marriage was an established fact. In the end, she left the house penniless. I gave us each the last bit of dignity. I didn't send her to jail, but just let her pay back the money slowly. After all, Ava's mother was in poor health and needed someone to take care of her. As for Ava's father, he went to prison along with Henry. In a way, I can be considered as getting rid of a scourge for the people. Only after the divorce did I dare to pursue true happiness. After I got married to Olivia, I learned the news of Ava's death. She suffered a massive hemorrhage during the abortion operation, and the doctor couldn't save her. It was the same massive bleeding as Ava's mother, but this time, there was no one who could save her. When I heard this news, I silently recited, "In my heart, we don't have to meet again in this life or any other."